Hi, Ryan.
Hello, Rachel.
How you doing?
Oh, wow, I'm doing fantastic. How about you, Rachel? How are you doing?
I'm feeling more oh no,
Oh, no!
because
Why?
we're here to discuss Star Trek Discovery.
And I hear the discovery in your voice. I hear it. The wow, the awe, the wonder of it all. We are here to talk about Star Trek Discovery from a rewatch perspective. We
From
are
a Yum Yum point of view.
Well, is that our new thing? We have Yum Yum Energy. Now we have YYP, Yum Yum. Oh, wait, YYPOV, Yum Yum Point of View. That's how we do it here. But we are Yum Yum Podcast because of that amazing line of dialogue from Star Trek Discovery. You all know it. If you're here, you know that line. It was great. We all loved it. We all clapped and cried and laughed. Oh, the laughter. The laughter. I mean, it was so funny. I can't laugh now, though, because I'm laughed out. But we need somebody to help laugh with us as we talk about Star Trek Discovery. Somebody who's nothing but a barrel of joy. Somebody who's so thrilled and pleased to be here. We're joined by Steve.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for having me on. This is my first time not talking about Babylon 5. I get to talk about my true love, the Star Trek franchise, which true love sometimes hurts. So here we are.
As an Enterprise fan, you know that feeling all too well. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
Steve, tell us a bit about yourself and your podcast, what you do.
Yeah, thanks. I am one of the co-hosts of the Last Best Babylon 5 podcast. We're watching through all of Babylon 5. It is my first time. It's my friend Sean's first time, but Ben, who's the other host, he has seen it all before, so he is our kind of resident expert. He gets to kind of say "I told you so" every couple episodes, essentially. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I am very, like I said, I'm very new to Babylon 5, but I've been watching sci-fi TV forever, and started with TNG reruns on TNT. So here we are, watching Discovery, which is, I was so excited when there was a new Star Trek announced.
Yeah.
And here we are,
Still excited,
season
right?
4. So, the Strange New Worlds, I'm having a great time with. So
Well, Picard, right? You love that show.
yeah, Lower Decks is a lot of fun. I really am having a great time.
Yeah, Prodigy.
Yeah, I don't know if this is getting too off course, but I've actually had a small part in the Prodigy universe. I wrote a script for like a kids play place that was the official Star Trek Prodigy like play place for these kids. So like um I got to they were like, we need a quiz show, we need to do trivia, we need like activities. Can you like Star Trek something up? And so if you were in Brooklyn, New York, and took your children to the Star Trek Prodigy experience, I wrote the script for that.
So we have an official Star Trek writer.
Yeah.
So
I
you can answer a lot of questions.
Yes.
You can answer. You know what? You're going to be able to answer a lot of questions we ask on this podcast. So thank you so much for coming on. We have an official Star Trek writer.
I got the check signed by Nickelodeon, so yes, I'm official.
With a kiss mark from Alex Kurtzman.
With a kiss mark from Alex Kurtzman and Alex Mack.
A poisonous kiss. But you're a fan of Star Trek, as we are. I mean,
yes.
Similar deal. We all, like a lot of us, saw Star Trek on those reruns or certain series we may have seen in real time. I remember I saw some of that very tail end of Voyager. I was young, and Enterprise was too late at night for me because Enterprise was the more quote-unquote adult Star Trek because it was horny. That's why they put it on late.
You had a lot of rub downs in that one.
You had so many gel scenes, and I was just curious, like, you kind of skirting around it, but Star Trek Discovery, what's your relationship with this series? What's your history with this brand of Star Trek?
I mean, I've seen every single episode. I can't help myself. I love Star Trek so much. Like I've seen everything, good and bad, and I guess my relationship is I went in open-minded. I understand, like at the time when it was premiering, I had heard so much about the backstage drama, people coming in, dropping out. What's his name? The Hannibal guy,
Brian
Fuller.
Fuller.
Yeah, Fuller was involved, and I was really excited. Nicholas Meyer was involved. I was super excited.
Yeah, Brian
I
Fuller
think that
worked
all.
on Voyager even, so
Yeah,
and some
yeah,
Deep Space Nine, so you know.
and he's fantastic. And when he fell out, it was like, oh, this seems maybe like they're not in a great spot. Um, didn't like the first season that much. Didn't like the second season that much. I had some fun in the third season, but the fourth season, I guess because it kind of hit a high, I really felt like I was doing homework and doing chores when I was watching through season 4 of Disco. But I do. Here's what I'll say: I love the cast. I think it's finally getting what's his name, Doug Jones in Star Trek is like the smartest idea anyone's ever had. Um, and I really want to like it. Like, my heart's open for you, Disco. Like, it's there. So that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
You're in a nutshell. Help, help. I'm trapped in a nutshell. How did I get big in this big nutshell? If only they had Mike Myers on.
If only I watched Austin Powers instead. Yeah, that would have been.
Could Mike Myers be in Star Trek Discovery? What would he play? What would
Sure.
he be? He would have to play like a Talaxian. That's what he would play. He would have to
be
play a
fun.
Neelix race.
That'd be fun.
Let me ask you a question, and be honest.
Ooh.
Do I make you horny? Randy?
Do I make you horny, baby? Yeah, do I?
We are here to talk about All In, which is episode 8 of season 4. That's right, we've made a progress in season 4. We've barreled through this, and boy, does it feel like we've been making that traction happen. So, according to IMDb, this is a 5.5 out of 10 episode, and the synopsis is as such. Following a hunch, Captain Burnham tracks Book to an old haunt from their courier days and gets drawn in to a high-stakes competition for a powerful weapon. And I want to do something a little different. I don't do this ever. I want to just pitch two ideas here, straight up. So
Yeah.
you could have this idea, and it will be Malcolm Reed and Trip must go down to an
Hey, my
Orion
boys.
crime syndicate to find some plans for the Xindi weapon. Little do they know,
Right.
they have to play a high-stakes game. You know, you can imagine that plot.
Yeah.
I've already written it.
Uh-huh.
You know those characters well enough where you can believe that would be... You already know the dynamic of it. You know that Trip would be down for it. Reed would be a little bit snooty, but then he would also have fun. And he would want to do the fight. You know, you can imagine it. And then the other one is... And this is... I was thinking about this. I was thinking if Strange New Worlds did this episode, it would be one of their best episodes where you have, say, number 1 and Leon go down to a planet.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
They have to do this. Number 1 plays the poker. Leon has to try and do her security stuff and do the fight, and they get a plan. Meanwhile, on the Enterprise, Cyborg plays a game of chess against Spock. You know, like, that's this. You already know. Like, Rachel and I, we're already smiling at this idea because you know how much fun it would be. Well, when Discovery gives it, this is already me getting to the history of it. It's not as fun, but I will say, this is in my recollection, and I chose you, Steve, for this because of mainly this reason. This was to me the best episode of season 4 when I first watched it through.
Thank you. Oh, that's
I
so
thought
nice.
it was the most fun. It was stupid. It was dumb, but it was
The least offensive.
It was reminiscent to dumb Star Trek that I like, such as that episode in TNG, the Royale, where Worf and Data,
that's an all-timer. Yeah.
and Riker, they go inside of that book and they have to play out, and Data's playing, you know, he's playing roulette and poker and everything, and that's like dumb fun. You wouldn't say that's a great Star Trek episode, like not a heady one, but it's fun, it's stupid, it's silly, and Voyager's filled with these type of episodes as well, like, what if Seven of Nine had to fight The Rock in a wrestling arena? Like, that's an
course.
episode.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
Jeffrey Combs in that one as well.
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs. And you could also have, if you want a DS9 version of this plot, you have Jadzia Dax and Quark must team up together to go on and on you go. Like, there are many of these type of sillier episodes in Star Trek, so I was actually quite on board for this. So in my in my hazy memory of season 4, because to me, season 4 is, as Steve said, such a chore, and it is so dreary and lifeless that this minor spark of silliness is what remained for me. So I looked upon it fondly. Whether I do still today, we'll find out. What about you,
We'll get
Rachel?
there.
What about you? What's your journey with this one?
I remembered the stupid moments from this episode because it serves up plenty of those. I forgot that the plot itself was so stupid and such a waste of time.
Oh yeah, this is a real wheel spinning episode in a
Yeah.
serialized show.
Yeah, it's buffing between like the start of the season and the mid-season finale.
Mm-hmm.
It's firmly in that territory. On the first watch, I remember not minding it so much until we got to the end, and then they go back to the DMA and they give this big revelation.
In like the last 2 seconds, yeah.
Yeah. So much so when we were like planning the structure, you were like, oh, you haven't got the DMA thing. And I'm like, what DMA thing?
You know, the thing that pushes the plot
Oh,
forward.
you never remember?
Yeah.
Don't you remember that the other 50 minutes of the episode didn't contribute to that revelation at all?
No, it's all about them getting the ingredient for the weapon.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. And then at the end, they have this big reveal.
No, Rachel, and the
Sorry,
star charts. And the star charts. They spend like 5 minutes to make sure you know she's also
They-
here to get these
They
charts,
check
these maps.
in on the
Of
star
course.
charts.
The stilf or something? The stilf.
Yeah.
Still, yeah.
You know, the stilf. They have all those charts we need.
Well, we don't know them because the Federation hasn't had any interaction with them.
But we know them deep down.
But that was like on my first view, I was like, "Oh, this is fine," and then I was like, "Oh, fuck you, fuck you!" Like this was a fun episode, and now you've made it worse by trying to make it better.
Yeah, you're trying to remind us that, hey guys, this isn't a time waste because this is a serialized show. So if we include 1 or 2 scenes that connect to the overarching season-long plot, then this isn't a waste of time.
But just the fact that they spend so long trying to get the isolinium or whatever the
Unobtainium.
yeah, whatever the fuck they decide to call it this week.
Hey, Star
Like
Trek
that
has said,
matters.
Yeah.
It's a key ingredient to move the Taka stuff forward. That was enough.
But here's the thing, just to counter you. At the end of last episode, and Book even references it in this episode, we were led to believe that Taka was 100% ready to go with the weapon.
Yeah.
So, fuck you. Like, this is the writers being like, no, guys, we've got to get it to however many episodes this season's got to go to.
I had a similar journey watching it again because I forgot that the mining revelation comes. I was like, you know what? This is stupid, but it's not fucking annoying.
True.
Like, it's obnoxious, sure. It's wildly stupid.
Tonally bizarre.
Tonally inconsistent, over-edited,
No. Really?
with tone that's all over the place.
Music that is very demanding.
Oh my gosh, the music. Yes.
We'll get
yes,
to.
yes,
I have
yes.
a whole note about the music.
Seems to believe that I give a shit about these characters and Book and Burnham's relationship because I'm meant to like be like Huz and being like
ship them.
maybe it'll still work out for you two lovebirds.
I shed a tear when he said that because I know how the season goes. Oh, boo-hoo. Steve, thoughts on this episode? What was your original experience watching this, and how did you feel when I said you're going to come on for this one?
Well, to be honest, nothing has changed between my first watch through and this. All of my thoughts are very similar. It is on paper so cool. Like there's a secret gambling den, and you have a fighting ring in it, and there's a card game, and there's a card cheat, and you got to sniff this out, and people are like on each other's tail, like like it's so exciting in theory that these plot lines are intertwined, and it all comes down in like uh, the seedy like sports bar, and that's awesome. I really like that.
There's a reason
Things,
why people like Ocean's 11.
yeah, this is to me like a classic like con man story, which is one of my favorite things to watch, where it's like people are trying to outsmart each other. They've got, bad luck comes in and they have to deal their best hand, pun intended.
Mhm.
And like at there's a changeling, like a changeling, like what are they doing 1,000 years in the future? Like that's awesome.
Jack
Uh,
shit.
but it's like all the ingredients are there, but including fights, which is one of my favorite things. Like I'd love to see people knock the crap out of each other. It's one of my favorite things to do. Uh, so all of this is in the ingredient list, and yet somehow this is so boring to me. And I remember watching it through the first time and just being like, I this has everything I like. Well, what's going on? So the same thing happened tonight where I was just like, oh no,
Yeah.
this is just such a dull episode. Why am I bored when there's like a trying to win a high stakes game of poker story? Like, why am I bored?
Because we
That
don't
is
know what the stakes are. Like, we know what the stakes are in the world of the show, but like you as a viewer, like you're sitting there going, "Yeah, I get it," but they're being silly, but the music's being serious, so
and
I
they're
don't
playing
care
a different version of poker.
because it's
oh yeah,
future
they're playing
poker.
space poker. Yeah,
Yeah,
Space
it's
poker,
space
yeah.
Livonian or Livonian. Blah, blah,
Who
blah,
knows?
blah, 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 blah,
Lovecraftian,
blah.
whatever. Yeah,
Because it's not just normal poker, because that would be too much like TNG.
Yeah, oh, we don't want to be reminded of that at all.
Yeah.
So, look, I will say that...
Sorry, I can't say that because I don't think any of the writers have watched TNG.
But they've watched
to
Voyager.
know
They
that...
fucking reference Voyager up the wazoo in this episode.
Yeah, they
I don't know
do.
why.
They
Like,
do.
the element that the DMA is sucking up is referenced in Voyager as an element that the Borg use for a super weapon. So it's like, oh, I know that. Thank you, guys. I remember that. Weird that you do, considering things you don't remember. But on my watch this time, I did have a drastically different experience because I had impressions as my memory of this, like, oh, generally, like, oh, I remember this thing was silly. I really liked our guest star. I thought the guy who played the head of the gambling establishment was great. I thought he was fun. I thought that was a fun character. I still think that he's giving a fun performance, and I still think that it's a cool design. But
Same. Yeah, agreed.
my big holdback on this, what made it really intolerable to watch, is it takes so fucking long to get to what we're here for, which is go down to the thing, go into this con man gambling, people are wheeling and dealing stuff. It takes so long because we have to spend the first 20 to 25 minutes going through the season-long plot. Oh, Admiral, can I go down? Oh, Michael, because of this. Oh, Zora's helping analyze this for Paul. Like, we've got to go through the entire thing to the point where the cold open finishes at 11 minutes in.
Yes. Yeah, that was a nice surprise. Like, oh, the title sequence. Okay.
And that's what's really holding me back from enjoying this even, like, at all, because I totally agree with Steve. It has all of these ingredients, but the thing is, they don't even start cooking the ingredients until it's far too late. It's far too late.
Today we're taking a look at the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery titled All In, which doubles as a perfect description of my feelings about this episode.
Can we talk about the Yum Yum moment? The moment in the episode that made your jaw hit the floor or roll your eyes, or something that was so bizarre, so out of left field, something that was just so wacky, like Yum Yum. For me, it's when Hugh Culber screamed at the dot. That was
Back to your dog!
that was insane. That was ludicrous.
Yeah.
But I do love when the dog just continues cleaning.
Yeah,
That was a nice touch.
It
That was a
disobeys.
nice
It
touch.
disobeys orders. Because are they still sentient from the end of last season? I don't know. No one knows. We don't talk about that anymore.
They're controlled by Zora.
The ship is alive, so whatever.
Rachel,
Don't worry about it.
was that your Yum Yum moment too?
God.
I mean, there's plenty. This episode's pretty silly.
Owoshiku psychoanalyzing Taka is mine.
That was.
Because it's just like, what the fuck? Why is this happening?
It is pretty nutty.
And it's just like, she's right immediately. And it's just like, why? This makes no sense to me.
And then he like gives her stuff too, where he's like, "Well, you don't know what I've been through." It's like, you don't even know this person.
Yeah. Don't you
He's
know
like
she's a
some
Luddite?
lieutenant commander, and you're
Yeah.
like the smartest man alive. Like, who cares about? Like, no offense to a Wushikun, but like, why does he care about it?
Yeah. Well, because
Like,
she's touching upon his emotional sensitivities.
my suffering is the worst in the universe.
And others. No one's had it harder in the time of the burn than me. yeah, okay, buddy. Tell that to Book whose planet got exterminated. But
he lost his only friend.
But he lost his only friend, so it's real
the
sad.
weight of that loss.
The weight of that loss. But Steve, what about you? Was there a Yum Yum moment for you? Something that was just completely like, what was this for you?
Yeah, there. And this may be completely informed with some other TV shows I've been watching. I've been watching through this show called Carnival, and it's about a Dust Bowl carnival.
With Clancy
going
Brown.
through Clancy Brown's in it, and Toby Huss is this carnival barker, and he's like so good at it, and it made me really appreciate the kind of art of drawing people in and talking up an act, and what you need to kind of be essentially a barker. And then in this episode, turn of a dime, all of a sudden, Michael is this like amazing barker. It's like, step right up and see the amazing, oh wow, Owoshikun. And it's like, what?
Remember, she grew up
So
on
she's
Vulcan.
a barker? Like,
Remember, she grew up on Vulcan? It totally lines up. Steve.
yeah, it's like this, it just like, I get that it was a desperate situation, but like just the ease in which she's not good at it, like, you
No,
know, the
she
way that
sucks.
Toby Huss's character is, but it's like the confidence that she has that she is this great barker. I was like, what is this?
Okay,
Because she knows this world because of that magical year away.
the magical year where she was a courier that we never got to see, and we will
No,
never get to know, and they
and
can
they
keep
just
pulling.
get-
They can keep pulling out
They
of their
just
ass.
get to roll
They
it
can keep-
out every time they need it.
In all seriousness, if Michael turned around and sprouted butterfly wings and flew in the air and said, "Oh, I got this surgery to give me wings while I was on this year away," the audience would have to accept it because we've had so many other ludicrous things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
no.
of course.
To Steve's point,
Her braids were done when she was getting the surgery.
The surgery for butterfly wings. But
it was a double up. It was a deal. It was a steal.
I want to go to Steve's point. This is going to tie into what we're going to go to next, which is like the characters who should be here. And Michael being the barker, I'm thinking, well, who in our crew would be that character? And I don't know if this is a controversial take, but if Tilly was still around, Tilly would just do that. It doesn't matter if she's good at it, but like you can imagine Tilly.
And she would.
You were going to imagine
have
Tilly would have
joy.
you would imagine Tilly to do that because she is that rambunctious and she would just run at it. But Michael, you just go, okay, Michael, I guess you do this because the plot needs it to. Like, if Tilly was still here, I would buy her doing it far more than maybe anyone else in our crew because she was that kind of person. Even if it would be silly and cringy, you would go, yeah, that's something Tilly would do.
Yeah, I can see that. It could also be a lot of fun if you're not good at it. Like, let's say Spock in Strange New Worlds is like, Spock, you gotta talk me up, all right? And he's like, Captain, I don't want to be a carnival barker. It's like, no, do it. Like, that could have been funny if Michael was like bad at it, but like, I don't know, maybe she finds out that she's good at it or she has fun or something.
Yeah.
But it's just like a
If
little
something
moment.
happened with it.
Yeah, it's just nothing. But it's
It just happens.
You can't just do that. You can't just be
like-
a really great, corner man.
It's like in Strange New Worlds when Hemmer had to pretend to be a wizard. And it was kind of funny. And he was like,
Yeah.
we have a giggle because it was absurd. But he's like an arrogant, confident character, but also he's not good at what he's doing, but also kinda. And so it
But
was
also
amusing.
he gets a robe and he's like, haha, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Why not? Yeah.
I'm a wizard.
He
Science.
rolls with it.
And that was like a character that was very minor in Strange New Worlds, yet I could tell you that was right for him to do. While Michael, who's our lead, I can tell you her doing that is one of those I agree eye-rolling moments where I just went, really? I mean, she's the only one here.
Oh,
So-
she's perfect at everything.
Oh, she's got to do it. So we go down to that casino planet from The Last Jedi to have a little bit of fun.
Karma barge.
The barge.
Okay, before we get to the inside, I fucking hate it. I fucking hate it. This is completely irrational, but I really did hate the CG fest creature that they have to fly
sure.
through
Yeah.
to get to the barge.
Oh, Rachel, how else would they hide the barge?
I heard we had Starfleet guests, so I just had to scurry like a spider cow to welcome them.
Right hook. Starfleet captain. Right hook.
Tale for another time.
And before we even kick off, Michael's flying down with Owo in a really, really bad looking shuttle shot. Like, it looked really rough.
Oh.
And Owo asked the question that we all asked. Why did you bring me?
Yeah. Well, why me?
You can validate star charts yourself. You don't need me.
Yeah, and we, the audience, were also thinking, why Owo? Steve, what do you think about this? What do you think about the way that Star Trek Discovery is trying to shepherd in and bring in the ensemble, like these other characters that are
The
here?
bridge crew are characters as well,
Yeah.
right?
We had a whole season of Detmer with PTSD because she hit her head real hard, and now we
And
have
then she
Owo.
just had to fly really fast,
She
and
had to fly
her
real fast.
she was cured.
And now
So-
we never
and
talk
now
about
we-
it again.
Now we get
Yeah, don't worry
Owo's
about it.
treatment where she wants to take back control, so they keep on sending her on away missions where she goes out of control.
No. But what do you think, Steve, about how Discovery handles its minor characters in case with this Owo?
Well, I want to give them credit for trying. At this point, maybe they know, like, our bridge crew is kind of nothing. I think it's very frustrating to watch a show like this and not have anything. I mean, that's kind of the whole thing about Trek. Like, you know what everyone's deal is right away, most of the time. Like, you look at Tuvok and you're like, I got it. I know what he's all about. I couldn't tell you anything about the bridge crew, and except for I recognize that face, like, oh, this person has been in a lot of episodes. So I will say maybe they knew that they were kind of nothing. So I do appreciate that they're trying. I just wish it worked better. It just seems kind of shoehorned at this point. And it's one of those things where it's one of my favorite things in long running shows is to pair people off that maybe haven't been in scenes together, and then, like, all right, what if we have a George and Elaine plot in Seinfeld? That hasn't happened in 4 seasons. Let's see what happens. But yeah, it just didn't work. Like, it was all a big fat bowl of nothing for me.
Yeah.
At least they're trying, is what I'll say. Like,
But they need
points for
to
trying.
commit, is what I think is the problem when they try. Because Owo, they've tried since season 2, and all they come up with is she's a Luddite, and she's highly emotional, and that's it. That's all you get. Like, season 3, Owo saves the day because she can hold her breath real long because she's a Luddite.
Oh, right, she's a, yeah.
And
I forgot
never
about that.
forget, we could have had Commander Nandi, the one crew member that doesn't breathe oxygen, to be the one that saved the day there, but they already wrote her out of the show because they didn't know what to do with her. It's like, oh, so write in, I guess Owo knows how to hold her breath. I guess Owo knows this. And one of the things I think about often is I understand where you come from, Steve, because I like having those little characters filled in. Like, I love Babylon 5 for that very reason. But you know what I also like? I like shows, say Babylon 5, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, where they know where the line is, where they go, look, this character's so small, they don't need any more time in the spotlight because we have other things that are more important, like Corwin.
We don't care about
Corwin,
Neelix anymore.
yeah, Neelix. But Corwin in Babylon 5, he's been there since season 1. They give him his little moments, but they don't take away from the things that you're actually here to see. You want to see Ivanova, you want to see Garibaldi, you want to see maybe this guest star come in, and they don't take the spotlight away too much because they know, these shows know, like, hey, Morn isn't actually a character. Like, he's an idea of a character, and it's funny that we keep doing that. And so we may have him appear, but, like, we're not going to take away from everything else because, well, we need to fill this in because the audience keeps pointing at them and saying, why aren't they a character anymore? Why aren't they more of a character? Like, I appreciate that they have an attempt, but, like, here's what I always say. TNG did this the best, where Miles O'Brien was just a guy. He was nothing. He was just a dude that would be there all the time. He had no job. Like, he always kept changing jobs. And then you get the first episode with the Cardassians, where they give Miles O'Brien a full episode to himself. He's the lead. He's our main character, and they give him a war story background. And you could argue, if it wasn't for that singular episode, Miles O'Brien would never be the character we know today. He would never have gone on to Deep Space Nine. You could argue that. And
I don't even want to think about that.
And
that just breaks my heart.
Those
No.
writers, those people looked at this little character and said, hey, what happens not only if we gave him something, but they had a specific thing in mind and they dedicated the time to it. Owo is in this episode. What do we get? She wants the captain to believe that she can do it, and that's it. Not particularly nuanced or anything interesting.
Yeah, and then she cold reads Tarka. I guess she also has that skill.
Yeah, and so when she says, why me? The audience, you go, yeah, why you? You're a nothing character. Well, hopefully this episode will show us why you. And Rachel, did it?
No.
Steve?
No, it didn't. They're trying, but it didn't land.
Oh, wow, it didn't land. Yeah.
Surprise.
It's just one of those things where Discovery will be like, Reese comes in and says, thank you for letting me lead this mission, Michael. You see, when I was younger, my town had a flood. And you're like, fuck off. And that's, I love modern shows are still very good at making your little characters memorable. Better Call Saul was very good at that. Better Call Saul had the vet character. I couldn't tell you that guy's name, but I love that character.
Yeah.
He'd appear maybe once or twice a season, and I love seeing him every single time. And so I don't need more time. It's just give a purpose to it. And here it was just, who can punch?
It's hard because, and I think this is a great example. Like, if we're talking about characters, characters are more than just ideas, right? Like, you can say, oh, it's the stellar cartographer on the Discovery, and she has this background and she has these abilities, but like, those are just like kind of words on a page. You need some hook, you need an emotion. And like this episode, oh god, Haas is a good example. I like Haas. He's a good character. He's this kind of affable guy who's fun, kind of like what Book says, fun, but then he can get mean. But my favorite character in this entire episode was the what was her name? It was this like, she handed Michael the winnings.
Yes, I noted her down too because
she had one line, and it was like, she just clearly doesn't want to work there. Like, that is her whole character, and it's like, that made me jump up. I'm like, finally someone with a character on the show,
and that's
someone
acting.
with like someone I could like connect with, because I don't want this list of people who are great at everything. Like, I just want a character. Like, what's your deal? Like, are you angry? Are you sarcastic? Are you like overly cheerful? And Tilly's a great example of that, but not Oo, and a lot of times not even Michael. So
no.
No, Michael and other characters as well often just get lumped with being vehicles for themes.
Mm-hmm.
So they
they
don't get to be characters.
They don't get to have their hair down. So, Steve, thank you so much for bringing that person up, because I had them in my notes, because really, this entire barge is filled with people like that. Like, Haas is a great character. I thought he was great. I liked the running gag that he has all of these terms and colloquialisms and slang and points of reference that are alien. So I thought that was a nice little bit.
Didn't take it that way because Taka says that there's something wrong with his translation net.
I thought that was him being like, something must be wrong here because I don't understand anything this guy's fucking saying to me right now.
Yeah, I took it as there's something wrong with the tech.
No, I think it's the gag is how we will use, and we see our characters all the time in Star Trek always refer to human things, and everyone has to take it on the chin, be like, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I took it as like Haas is doing that, but for alien stuff, which I think's a cute idea. And I thought
I like your idea better.
And I will say the actor carries it off because I can see this being annoying for people. They do it too much. I think they write it a few too many times, but the actor just delivers it, and he delivers it in a comedic way, but not in an overt, I'm winking to the audience, laugh way that a lot of the comedy is done in Star Trek Discovery, where they pause for you to laugh. This guy has a bit more range when it comes to that, but he was fun. And that chick, yeah, I noted her down too because short, sweet, simple. You got an idea of everything you need to know about her and this place of work that she has. Like, it isn't this swinging, gorgeous, fun time. Like, there are people there who just work there because there's nothing else to do, and it's just like, it's a job. And it made it relatable, and it made it like Discovery. A part of it now is we're in uncharted territories of Star Trek, and that's like an example minorly of that, where in Star Trek you think a lot of the time everyone's like perfect and they love what they do and they're all great, like, I love science, as Spock said. And yet seeing a character,
found their purpose in life.
Yet seeing a character who isn't a slave, somebody who isn't like a victim of oppression, they're just, this is a job. Like,
they're just working minimum wage.
Yeah, here are your winnings. Thank you for coming to the barge. You please have a drink at the bar. Like, great.
Congratulations. Everyone's a winner on Haas Mazzaro's Karma Barge. Do you want a bag? Because there's more.
Rachel, do you want to talk a bit more about Haas and what he's got going on and just his general demeanor? Because I think for most people, he was the bright spot guest star in this whole entire season. Like, I can't think of another guest star in this entire season that was as memorable as this guy.
No. And he's very stereotypical of, he's a sort of somewhat benevolent dictator of his barge.
Yeah. He's a pirate with a heart of gold.
Yeah, he's a broker. He knows what he's doing. He knows Book and Burnham. And a question that I have is, why is he pissed off at Book but not Burnham?
I think he's hot for Burnham.
Is that it?
I think he is.
Okay.
I think they do explain. Book pissed him off because he did all the transworms things, and Burnham hasn't done anything to him. Like, Burnham in his world has just been a nice person.
But Burnham would have helped him with the transworms.
I think that was beforehand. See, this is where the timeline doesn't add up,
or
because
is
they're
that
referencing
the transworms that he stole
in the opening of season 3. But how does that make sense? Like, why would he still be mad with him if he has interacted with both him and Michael?
Since yes. So if they did it in the year together, then they did it together.
Yeah, well,
if it's that first time, why is he still pissed, and why does Book say, we left on an ugly note?
I got an answer for that.
I'm going to push my mic away because I think you're going to make me
yell.
yell.
I've got an answer for that. We've got a Star Trek writer here who can explain it all. Steve? As a Star Trek writer, what's the
Star Trek writer?
What's the thought process, buddy?
I would guess they just didn't care. Like, I've heard stories about their and it breaks my heart. Like, you only have so many shots to do these shows, but like, I've heard stories that their writers' room has just turned over so many people, and that's one of those things you can't really control. Like, but I wish they had a consistent presence. Like, they're probably just pumping out these these scripts, and they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. This is part of these sorts of stories. Like, oh, we have some bad blood because of a bad deal. Um, yeah, I don't know. It sucks. It
But
sucks.
it's a minor error or weirdness there. But that character, he's stereotypical, but like sometimes that's what you need.
He's
Like
fun.
these types work. They're archetypes. They work for a reason. Star Trek Discovery, for my money, is too concerned with subverting and going against the grain. And we ain't your daddy, Star Trek. We don't tell Star Trek stories like you like him anymore. But hey, look, we reference Voyager. Doesn't that make you feel better? It's like, and they do that with character things. So it's like, oh, Paul Stamets is the crabby engineer guy who's really smart and egotistical, but there's like, but no, guys, he's also like all these other things. We can't just have types.
He's
like,
very excited.
You know what I
to
liked about
go
Data?
For a walk in the flowers.
Yeah, you know what I liked about
with his
Data?
partner.
He was an archetype. He was like the android character, and you go, yep. And as Steve has said, you knew it. You go, yep, I know what that character is, and you can expand upon that. But like, Discovery isn't interested. So when we have characters like this guy, you smile and go, oh, thank God. Because you remember last season when we had Osira, who should have been this type of character, but instead they were too concerned not giving you that. And so you got nothing instead. Hence also the evil pirate gang in Strange New Worlds, they were fun because they were also like, yay, we're getting the thing that we like. Like, things like, they work for a reason. Like, sometimes in media, we're too concerned with, oh, we need to change everything because it's oh so smart to invert it and twist it. But, like, guys, Harry Mudd in the 60s worked for a reason because he was fun. I don't need him to be a serial killing psychopath in season 1. I don't need that. Even if Rainn Wilson's a fun performance, I don't need him to be murdering people because guess what? Harry Mudd was just a comedy villain. That's what he was.
Yeah, why not?
We don't need to change it.
I watch a fair amount of wrestling, professional wrestling, and one of the kind of lessons that I've taken away from that is you need to know everything about a wrestler just by them walking down to the ring. That's it. That's all the time, and that's kind of how they work. Like, speaking of carnivals, they would go town to town. You didn't have an opportunity to follow any storylines. So, like, once you walk to the ring, everyone needs to know exactly what you're all about, so they could decide, oh, am I going to boo you or am I going to think you're a hero?
Yeah.
And with Haas, it's like you said, immediately you're like, I know what you're all about, and I'm all in. So,
oh, the title got dropped. And hey, The Rock as an actor, he's made his career on that, where we just see his face and you go, yeah, I can trust him. He's a badass, but he seems like a nice guy. There you go. That's it. You like, a picture can tell so much, but Discovery doesn't always abide by that. Talking about fighting, we get Owo deciding, hey, because they need money to buy this crap from our lovable criminal rogue. So we have Book and Tarka have to track down some cheating at this establishment on this barge, and Michael and Owo decide, hey, I am going to fight for money. Owo's going to fight for money. And Steve, this is also another reason I got you on, because I know you're into this, and often on your Babylon 5 podcast, we joke on ours, as do you on yours, about TKO, the fighting episode of Babylon 5. And
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Could you tell me, as a Star Trek writer and a sci-fi fan,
yes, official Star Trek writer, that's
what is it?
correct.
What is it about science fiction television that's obsessed with having these random boxing fighting episodes? Because Battlestar had one, Star Trek, like pretty much every Star Trek's had one, Farscape has them, like modern Star Trek still has them. Like, what's the deal? What's the deal, and how do you feel about them in general, and this one here?
I think it kind of comes from that pulp tradition where those old sci-fi magazines from way back in the day was kind of more action and action adventure, less heady cerebral examinations of humanity. It was like, oh, we're going to the Martian palace and I have to beat up the king or whatever. Yeah, it's just pulp stuff. I think that's in the DNA of sci-fi, and no matter what, you can't escape from it. And I'm a big fan of that. Like, I really think it's just a lot of fun to have a bare knuckles brawl in the middle of your space opera. I think it's a ton of fun, and yeah, did it work here? No, not really.
No.
But I
What-
appreciate it. Like whenever it comes up, I am generally, and I guess that kind of goes the same with sports too. Like whenever they do a sports episode, and I think that's a little different. I think that's the writers are like, big baseball fans or whatever. They're like, we got to get baseball on the show. But I have fun with that as well. It kind of, and it also brings it down. Like not to get too into the concept, but like you have a show. It's a million years in the future. There are all these aliens. This dude's saying things that make no sense. There's a blinking gambler. And it's just like, well, I know boxing, like I know MMA. I've seen it on TV. It kind of just like centers you a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I just find it so fascinating that, a genre that's considered very nerdy will often have episodes that are very po-faced, like very sincerely serious, whether they executed well. Like TKO with Walker Smith, or that episode of Voyager with Chakotay where he's boxing, or that episode of Battlestar Galactica where they're boxing, are all played with utmost sincerity and earnestness. And I'm like, who's this for? Like, because I'm a nerd and I'm not into any of those, because like it's not my wheelhouse. But like, again, I just find it so fascinating that it's still happening. Like, this is played po-face. Like, the oh wow Awoshikan is the only funny thing about it. Like, Michael being the Bark is the only humorous thing. The fight itself is played ever so seriously, and they have. And Rachel, I was keen to get your opinion on this.
Mm-hmm.
You have this big guy fighting this little woman, and then
Yeah.
they really don't comment on it for the longest time until randomly, when you know that the guy's going to lose, he starts shit talking her, and she does the whole, I'm going to teach you a lesson because you underestimate me because I'm a little woman. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
And now they're all little women, and then Mo closes the book. But how do you feel about that and the fight?
It's stupid.
Is it
Do you think he was
condescending or not?
right?
What was that, sorry?
Oh, do you think because at the end it's like, hey, you hustled us. Do you think it was a hustle, or do you think she just needed to get mad enough?
I think she just needed to get bad enough.
Yeah.
I think the stakes needed to be higher in the script for her to win.
You've talked about many times on the pod, Rachel, how you are very much a roller of the eyes when it comes to these big properties trying to speechify and do feminism at you. Like when you saw Endgame, Avengers Endgame, and they're
sure,
like, it's girl time, and you were the only person in the packed cinema that sighed, just went, oh.
We saw it in IMAX, and I groaned.
And everyone went like, how rude. Like,
I guess you don't like feminism.
I guess you don't like women. But does this fall under that or not? Because to my eye, I was just like, oh, now we're getting the moment where Star Trek Discovery's like, guys, girls could do it too.
No.
She's gonna take down the big boy.
It didn't cross over into performative feminism for me. It was still firmly just in the, this is stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
that's fair.
It didn't intersect with those other things because it mattered more in that moment, at least to me, that she's feels out of control. It's not about her stature. It's about her reclaiming control over a situation, not dominating a man.
One of the things that you're mentioning about the control, like being in control, is it's rather fascinating how it doesn't work, because
It's rather fascinating how this is shit.
When she does the whole begging Michael, can I fight again, please?
One more time,
One
please.
more time, and Michael's going, okay, I can't help but
Well,
ridge.
no.
No.
You missed an important step, which is Michael gives a firm no, and Owo throws more of a tantrum, so
let me,
Burnham gives up.
Yeah, because Burnham's
And
a
it's
great,
like
Burnham's a great leader.
That's a commanding officer of the whole ship, and it's like, no, you're out of this octagon right now.
Yeah.
No, please.
please. And that's no. Here's
Please.
what I was going to say.
I want to kick his butt.
Here's
please.
what I was going to say though is Owo's not a character we know well enough to let slip them begging like that and disobeying the commander. So for instance, if this was
She already did it with
I mean,
Saru.
if
this is Trip,
I
come
was
on,
going to
Captain,
say
you gotta let me in, Captain. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Or
jeez.
there's so many characters we can rattle this off with. Like if this was Jadzia and Cisco, you'd go, yeah. That's fine because they're best friends.
Yes.
Or
Their dynamic allows for that.
yeah,
It doesn't cross a line with the boundaries that those two characters have with each other.
But when Owo does it in this series, I don't know her well enough, and I can't help but react with ridging up and saying how pathetic. Because to me, when she's begging to keep fighting and not listening to Michael, and then Michael gives up and lets her fight, I cringe and I go, this is just so pathetic.
Yeah.
Like this is just so awkward and
She loses.
pathetic.
Yeah. Those are the last 2 bars of Latinum, which I want to get to.
Oh yes, Rachel has done the most fun thing, which is look at the financials of this.
Oh, okay.
Rachel, you sat down and said to me, Ryan, I think I kind of worked out how much money was spent in this.
Oh, I love stuff like this. Yes, please.
Because I did a little bit of research and some estimations, and on a particular website, I don't know how they set this up or why they set this up, but you can measure like slips of gold latinum against the US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the very strong US dollar.
Strong.
Strong.
Yeah. So there's Burnham bets 2 slips of latinum.
Okay.
Two bars of latinum.
Yes.
2 bars, yeah.
And each bar of latinum apparently has like 2,000 slips in it.
Uh-huh.
Great. That's
So-
a lot.
The equivalent of the 2 bars is about 500 each.
Okay.
Wow.
At current
Okay.
market value.
Okay.
That's not
So
that much.
yeah, like it doesn't feel like it feels like it should be more than that.
Well,
So she puts her last 2 bars down at 45 to 1.
mhm.
So
Great.
she gave up almost 50 grand
Okay. Well, that's
for that little bit of isolinium.
Okay. Well, that's
wow.
You know what? That's a lot
That-
cheaper than I would
that
expect
tracks.
isolinium
Oh,
to
sure.
be. I would expect isolinium, a thing that can make a super weapon, to be, I don't know,
In the
over
mil-
like a million.
Also,
couple
like a
mil.
pure one.
Yeah, not
But,
cut with
like-
stuff like drugs.
And that, he says it should be at least 3 times what they've already given him.
Yeah. What I find,
Okay.
what I
all
think
right.
is funny is in our discussion we've focused on all these little things like the fucking finances because the actual story is not that engaging. Like it should be on the
Yeah.
most primal level of this should be fun. Like Steve, you said to me in a message that this episode was a bit of a disappointment for you because they had a changeling in it and they did nothing with it.
First time
Yeah.
since DS9.
Yeah, first time
like,
since
oh,
Deep
they're-
Space Nine. We get a
And-
changeling.
and it's one of those things, yeah, it's like, oh, this mysterious person has been robbing the casino blind for months. It's like, all we had to do was look for 5 minutes and we figured it out. Like, okay, cool. A very poor changeling, but yeah, like a changeling's in it. And I remember reading press at the time. It's like, oh, a connection to Deep Space Nine, and well, does
I
this show
remember that
anything
bullshit
about?
too.
And it's like, no, they just they were like, oh, an alien that can transform. All right.
Yeah.
I still think it's really neat when it turns into a triple and tries to roll
Yes.
away.
That was cool.
Like, and I'm like, I wanted that scene to go on longer.
That's
They
the
could have done
failure.
that whole episode, Mad Max Fury Road style, just find a changeling.
But that's a
That
failure.
would actually be good. We can't do
that's
that
the failure.
in Discovery.
That's the failure of the changeling majorly is if you're not going to do what I think we all want, which is do some fucking follow-up to the aftermath of the Dominion War, even if it's 1,000 years later, at least let me know what the changelings are up to. But if I can't get that, at least show me what you've given me, which is, a chase scene with a changeling where they're transforming while they're running away. And they transform like once or twice, and then
yeah.
they get captured immediately, and it's
A
not
scene.
fun.
Give me a proper
Yeah.
scene.
And we know Discovery can do this because, as bad as I think that season 3 premiere episode was, it had that fun, rather inventive, and they dedicated that chase sequence where they keep teleporting to different locations. That was creative. That was
Even
fun.
when
They
Burnham
used
gets high in that episode.
yeah, and they were creative and they were using the sci-fi premise to liven up an action sequence that we've seen a million times in this series. And here you could have had a chase sequence which we've seen so many times, liven it up with one that's a shapeshifter who's transforming and they're going all around, and how do you grab it? Like maybe you grab it and they turn into like a slime and they slime on the ground.
And
No.
do Book and Burnham have to team up?
Yeah.
Do they fall into old patterns and work together?
See, we're writing the script for them because you can see, and this is, I'm curious to know what you think about this, Steve. For me, my biggest complaint with Star Trek Discovery is they actually have an abundance of good ideas that they just let die.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things that I kept writing down on like my little notes app during this episode was like, this could be the episode. Like this one idea is enough. Like OO needs to be a cage fighter.
That's enough.
There it is.
Yep.
A chase to find a changeling.
There's an idea.
There's an episode. And a poker game for this very rare doomsday material. That's an episode. But instead they like you said, Ryan, it's like they're overwhelmed with ideas and they just want to put everything in it. And so we get like a little taste of each of them. But that's not very satisfying to anybody.
No.
They don't develop things, be it plots or
Yeah.
characters.
That's a great, Rachel. Like, I think you hit it on the nail on the head. It's like, this is a show about ideas. It's not about stories. It's not about characters. It's just about like a list of ideas.
And that's not good enough. Because if it is a show about ideas, then dedicate to the fucking ideas. Like, there are some shows, there are some movies where I don't give a fuck about the characters, or I don't give a fuck about the theme, but I'm there because it's a cool idea. Like, I'm watching the Netflix series Dark right now, time travel German sci-fi show. I don't care about any of those characters, but it's like got really great sci-fi time travel ideas, and they're exploring them. That's what I'm there for. Star Trek Discovery, if you're not going to really care about the ideas, then stop giving us them, because it just makes me angrier. It makes me angrier that I can keep thinking of a version of this show that could be here instead of what you're giving me. Like, if you want to be a show about your themes, then just dedicate more to the themes. Make the ideas a little less and focus on that. But you don't, so
but
it's frustrating me.
So much more fun to jam-pack this episode full of shit and then tell you the themes again by a random character talking to another character that we don't know about their emotional backstory.
They aren't capable of telling the story. Like, we keep circling around this. They can't tell the story. We as the audience know, like, we know in our bones what we want from this, and they can't do it. So we get the poker scene, and it's
We're
the high
media
stakes.
literate.
It's the high stakes poker scene, and I want to know from you, Steve, since you're into these things. Is the poker scene in this? Is it supposed to be funny, or is it supposed to be
God.
serious? Tell me.
Let's lean in on the musical cues that they provide.
What the fuck is going on?
They had like comedy music in a couple moments here. It's like, oh, this is a
whimsical.
Okay, this is supposed to be like a funny thing. Like, yeah, like what were they thinking?
Well, I argue otherwise, though. You have the moments where Michael and Book are obviously cheating at this poker, and Michael's doing that very, like, oh, golly gee, wouldn't you know it? And the music is this swelling, orchestral, dramatic,
Yes,
serious.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, what am I supposed to feel? Is it supposed to be funny or not?
Angles.
And it's both. Like, the scene is such a... It makes you feel deeply uneasy because it just tilts all the time. There's this comedy music, Michael is doing it, and then all of a sudden I wrote down hokey emotional music. Like,
Yeah.
There's such dissonance happening in that scene. It's extraordinary.
Like when the people lose, for some reason, the music switches to some light smacks on the keys on the piano, and it's like, that's not the music you should be playing right
and
now.
also, that's the point that they should get called out for cheating, not after the boxing.
Right, because they're clearly
Yeah.
cheating.
They're very clearly cheating.
And the fact that no one calls it out is insane. But the music is so important to a scene like this because as it's presented, you can make it work where they're obviously being silly and playing up the comedy of them cheating and getting their way to the top. And then when it's just Michael and Book, that's when you make it serious. We know that you can do that. I mean, Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels did that with their poker scenes very well, where they would have them be funny, and then when it was down to the final players, now it's serious.
Yeah, the
and now
stakes are up.
And then when our main character loses, now you play Iggy Pop. You know, like that's how you do it. But here, it's so them being overtly silly, but the music is that discovery, epic, serious. We are on a quest to find the Holy Grail and eat it. And
The editing in this episode is particularly atrocious,
And-
even outside of this scene.
and then when you get to
But
Michael and
it
Book,
just gets so bad in this one.
and when you get to Michael and Book, now they're playing the hokey emotional music and the comedy music, and it's like,
what are you doing?
hey, look, we can make fun of the original series and its whimsical comedy music all we like, but it matched. like when Bones would tell a
Why would
silly
we do
joke
that?
and then the
Yeah.
music would make the little ding 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 ding. It's dated, but it
I
makes
love it.
sense.
I love it.
Yes.
like
No, I
it
love
makes
it. No
sense.
complaints.
When you
no
get the
notes.
comedy musical sting in it, like TOS at the end of an episode, it's pitch perfect.
Yeah. Even if Bones tells a weird joke and he looks into the camera.
Yeah.
That's the best. That's the absolute best. When
But
he's
it
like,
makes sense.
I got the last word. Like, wow. Okay, I guess this is the show that breaks the fourth wall. Okay.
Well, what do you know? I finally got the last word.
Well, they make it very clear at the end that this is, and this is kind of them hand-holding the audience because it's not completely underlined and emboldened, but it's like, this is actually about their relationship. Like, they're playing for the future of their relationship. Is it gonna happen? Are they gonna break up because of this? And it's like, I don't care. At that point, I was like, I've just seen a cage fight and a changeling chase and a CGI dragon. Like, I just want to go to bed. What are we doing? Another thing? Like, okay.
And it's the bizarre thing is you are supposed to care about their relationship, and then it makes you go, okay, guys, you care about their relationship. Since you care, you know their relationship, right? And you can think about is it a healthy relationship? And that's where I go, nah.
No.
Michael treats him like a child, and he is trying to create a super weapon that could destroy the galaxy. So, nah. So when they're fighting for the remainder of their relationship, I'm not rooting for them because I think their
He's
relationship
gone too far.
And this is one of those
yeah.
things where the show obviously doesn't want you to think like this, but I can't help but think like this because I'm so dead in the brain. I just go, look, if Rachel was doing this, I would just let it go. Like, I'd just if Rachel was acting like Book right now, yeah, I would choose Starfleet over you because you're a fucking terrorist, Rachel. I'm so
Yes!
sorry. Like, I can't
And-
connect to it.
You would have seen it coming.
And a part of why I can't connect to it is I have never been invested in their romance. Like, I think the actors have better chemistry than Michael and Ash Tyler, but that doesn't mean that their relationship's any better. It's one of those things where at the end of this, I just go, you know what? Can we stop having Michael be in relationships with people? Because she's a very toxic partner. And you know what?
She's a toxic person.
And you know what? I liked in old Star Trek that none of our captains had to have committed relationships all the time. Like Cisco had
it took a while.
Yeah, it took a while.
With
And she
Cassidy.
wasn't a main character. She was a guest spot character who would come in every now and then. And that was fine. But like, I wouldn't define Cisco for that season or two as, oh, he's in love and he's got a relationship. That was just a part of it.
She also was a terrorist.
Yeah.
And he had to deal with that. And it's like, that was handled much more maturely.
Yeah, 100%. And even with Janeway, you know, the first female captain series lead, they really held off romance stuff with her for a long time because she had a fiance back home waiting for her. And also, like,
the dog man.
Yeah, and we didn't need to give Janeway romance stories all the time just because she's the lady captain. And I look at Michael and I go, they're always giving Michael romance stuff, and it's always shit. Like, it's just garbage.
Sorry, was that about Michael's romances or the whole show?
Oh, Rachel, how could you say that? Didn't you see the look on her face when Book did win, and he's now going to fly off with terrorist weaponry, and they're going to do shady shit?
Yeah, and then they're making something that's even stronger than an atomic bomb.
And then the president, who was the lawyer from Battlestar Galactica, she comes in. I can't get past that either. It's like they get these good actors. They get these actors who are like, you know, very good. Like the admiral's the guy from The Mummy, and you got like you know, Doug Jones, and you got so many people who are good actors, and they're in this, and you just go, why are they not letting them do stuff? Like, I would say Star Trek Discovery is that Star Trek show. Maybe Enterprise fell in this camp too. I think Enterprise fell in this camp as well. Sorry to say this, Steve, where it's not rewarding to its actors very much. Star Trek Enterprise was very guilty of that. Like poor Hoshi, and poor even Scott Bakula wasn't allowed to do the things that you want Scott Bakula to do. And like Scott Bakula's like a charming guy, and then Enterprise was like, no, you're not allowed to be fun or likable. You're just an asshole. But like Star Trek Discovery, that's one of its big crimes is it's so undeserving of the talent it has because they don't let the actors do anything. Like, you have this conference scene at the end where you have the president and the admiral and Michael, and they're doing the whole, how did you let this happen when you knew this and this?
And I broke it's like,
and
it's boring.
Yeah. None of them look like they want to be there. And they got these big fucking TV screen walls behind them that's supposed to look like a conference room.
And that was definitely filmed on the same day as the scene at the start.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically the exact same scene.
Same thing, yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about that stuff, Steve, when it comes to how Discovery and its performance and its performers?
Well, it's just so sad. I agree with you. It's like these characters don't have any character. It's kind of what we've been saying throughout this whole episode. Like, there's nothing to it. That one casino girl had more character than, I would say, 75% of the main characters. And she had 2 lines. These people have nothing to do. Their whole thing is that they're good at their job. Like, that's it. And it sucks to see, especially the president. Like, the president is a character in the show, and she's like, you can tell she's like part human, part Bajoran, and part Cardassian. Is that?
I think that's right.
And it's like, it's such an interesting idea. Like I said, this is a show about ideas, but like, there's no gas in the tank. It's like there's nothing to it, and every time the president's on the air, I didn't know she was from Battlestar Galactica. I mean, that makes sense.
She was the lawyer for Boltar's trial, the one that was prosecuting him.
Yeah, and that's a fantastic arc of episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nothing to do. Same with Michael. And I love that actress. I love most of the cast. I think that everyone's really game. Um,
The fact that David Cronenberg is probably the best actor this season is
yes.
fucking wild because he's a
Well,
director who doesn't act.
It's like the only exception to this is Tarko, who's like at
Yeah.
least he has a swagger.
Yeah,
Like,
we've mentioned
he
that
has
we're fans of.
something.
We've mentioned a lot on our discussion season 4 that we like Tarka's performance, even if the
Yes.
character is very lacking, because the actor seems invested. And I've never seen
He's
him in
having
anything
fun.
else. I've never seen him in anything else. I know he's in The Expanse. I haven't really watched The Expanse, but like, even in this episode where he's given basically nothing, he still embodies what you need. Like, he embodies I'm the arrogant scientist who says I'm going to be quiet, but I can't shut my mouth. And you go,
Yeah,
that's fun.
To be this. Yeah, I'm the smartest guy in the room, and I just can't help myself but be that guy. And like I said, he has a swagger, and when he's on the screen, you're like, oh, someone actually acting, like someone actually with something to do. And I don't know who to blame. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he plays it without being a mustache twirler 100%. Like, when he has to do these sincere moments, he almost makes you buy it. Because that actor believes it. You know he believes it, but when Owoshukan is talking to him, I don't believe that person believes these lines, because it's like, I have no context for them. Even though they've been a character since this first season.
Yeah, and I could see that from the actor's perspective. It's like, oh, where's my script this week? Oh, I'm in it. Oh, I guess I'm a cage fighter. Oh, okay.
It's like,
where's my in on this? Like, again, sorry, we don't have time. We got to shoot.
It's like Voyager again, where it was like the guy who plays Chakotay. You could see exactly when he gave up, because after a point they didn't know what to do with him. So he'll be like, "Oh, what's this? This week I'm a boxer. Oh, this week I'm a Native American again, and it's important." Like, you can see that. Like, this isn't unusual, but it's so unusual because it's like most of the characters, where it's like these poor actors. I look at it because we get all this stuff about like the end where we get the DMA, and you see all of these actors doing the motions of like, we found out the big revelation, but there's no energy behind it. Like, I think about, we all both host Babylon 5 discussions, podcasts, and I always think about, like, say, when Sheridan finds out that they have a weapon that they can use against the shadows, there's excitement there, and you believe it, because Bruce Boxlight is given material, and he's dedicated to it. But here, when they find out that it's a drilling thing, that we could do this, the excitement comes from, hey, audience, we the writers have given you information to move the overarching plot forward, and that's it. Like, it's clinical.
Yeah, it's very clinical. That's a great word for it. And it's there's no joy in it. It's just, we need to get you coming back for another episode.
Please.
Yeah, and I think they want us to like the show more than the show actually likes itself. So
But it has themes, Steve.
It has themes. Yeah, it's a big capital T theme show.
It's about connection. It's about family.
If you just have one more shot in the ring, like, all right.
It was multi-layered as well, because there was this sense of loss and this sense of anguish, because at a certain point it's clear that there's nothing that I can do.
Rachel, I think it's time to get into the section of the show that everybody loves. Everybody loves this. The Hugh-dar, where we talk about who?
Hugh Colbo?
Who's he? Who's
I
that
don't
guy?
know.
Who's he?
I don't know. He's a doctor
Oh, yeah.
and a
A therapist, too.
counselor.
Yeah,
Yes.
now he is. It took him 4 seasons to realize that he probably should have been the ship's counselor.
He's in a relationship with a man.
Yeah, his name's Paul Stamets. Remember that character? Remember when he had a character? Paul? Now he's just a guy that says lines. It's very amusing. This was the first time I noticed. Rachel, apparently you've noticed this even on the first watch and previous episodes.
Yeah.
First time I've noticed actors have the creases on their ears, near their ears, of where they were wearing their masks. I noticed that with the guy who plays Stamets.
Okay.
If you scroll through and have that look at that scene in the engineering room with him and Michael and Saru, you can see it's indented in his hair. And on his face. I've never noticed that before. Like, I knew that they did this during COVID, obviously, and I knew there was going to be limitations and certain things that you just know because like there's
Yeah.
not many actors, they're filming in a certain way. But I've never noticed the mask thing before. But you've also noticed that the minor red irritation around the ears. You've noticed that. I haven't, but this is the first time I noticed it. And he even had it, I think, minorly in the scene with Hugh. So I thought that was rather interesting. But Hugh Colbert, Steve, what do you think about Hugh Colbert as a character? He's apparently one of our main characters for this entire run of the show. Could you kind of give us a speed run of your overall impressions on this guy?
Sure. Very handsome, great bod, big muscles, love it. And I really love the uniform. I think that medical uniform from season 1 of Disco might be like my favorite Starfleet uniform, at least top 5.
Yeah, it's fun.
Anything that's not physical.
But as far as that goes, I mean, obviously they fridged him, which is a very strange thing, and
fucking weird.
Yep.
Then I guess they were like, oh, that's actually like really bad. We shouldn't have done that. So
don't worry, we'll do it again
back.
with Gray. We'll do it again with Gray.
And then they bring him back, and it's like I don't know what to say. Like, there's really nothing there, and it's I'm watching this Carnival show, and I won't.
I won't.
I think this might be a spoiler, but essentially, someone there's an episode, someone dies, and then they come back, and that changes their character for the rest of the show. Like,
As
they
it
are
would.
haunted by this. Yeah, and I feel like they just kind of, the writers remember, like, oh wait, this guy died.
Oh yeah, that would change a person.
Should we talk about that? Maybe in a couple episodes. We got to talk about
Ah,
some bullshit that no one cares about. But yeah, like, as far as his character, I guess I'm glad they brought him back. I do like that they kind of make this queer family in, I think it's season 3, where him and Paul are like, we are going to really be there for this new queer character. I thought that was really sweet. But as far as his character, yeah, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what his deal was.
Are you a fan of the Doctor characters in Star Trek?
Oh my God, they're some of my favorites.
Where does is he the well, yeah, is he the worst? Is he like the lowest?
To be fair, that's like, even Enterprise had one of the greatest doctors. Like, the Doctor category is
it's stacked.
Where the all-stars go, yeah.
Well, here's my ranking of doctors, because it's always now my top 2 always interchange, but I'm gonna go the Doctor from Voyager, I love him. Bones, Phlox,
Great.
Bashir, then Crusher, I guess, and then I guess Hugh. Am I forgetting another series in there? I know there's other ones. Like, Picard doesn't really have a Doctor character. Lower Decks doesn't really seem that concerned with the Cat Doctor as much.
But the Cat Doctor's so fun, though.
They're
like,
fun.
really
I'll put them
funny,
above
yeah.
Hugh, I guess. And then I haven't seen Prodigy, so I don't know anything about it.
The Doctor in Strange New Worlds, I think, is really.
Oh yeah,
really
I would
great.
put him equal to Hugh for me, because I need more from him. Like, he's been there. He's had more than Hugh, so I'll put him above Hugh. But I need more from that dude, other than I have a daughter. I need more of him being a Doctor character. Like, these are the things I like about the Doctor characters.
We
is that
all
the
agree that Hugh sinks to the bottom.
But Hugh is the worst. Yeah, I would say it
used to be
again,
Crusher.
It's not really fair. Yeah, no,
Now
again,
I
it's
love
a stacked
Crusher.
cast.
Now I fucking
It's like
love Crusher.
the doctors are like, that's a category. Like, these are the all-stars as far as I'm concerned. Like, yeah, the Doctor from Voyager is, I would say, number 1. He essentially he's just Fraser Crane, but like, who cares? That's why he's great.
No, he's just Bob. He's just Robert Picardo. That's what he is. He's just Picardo doing whatever the fuck he likes. Like, what's that? I can sing in this. Awesome. Like,
oh well, I mean, that's a great example. Like, when Picardo becomes an opera star, it's like I buy it.
Yeah,
when
because
Owoshikun becomes a cage fighter, it's like, I don't care.
Yeah. Rachel, what's happening with Hugh?
He's stressed out, so he's cleaning and being rude to a dot. And I am deliberately speaking slowly because there's so little to say, because he's in one scene.
Yeah.
Despite also having a spot in the recap of the last.
Well, why is
episode?
he stressing out?
Because he feels like he failed because Book turned to Taka. He thinks that he should have seen it coming and prevented it.
That's an
because-
interesting idea. That could have been the episode. Give that some room.
But we can't.
But we can't because we need 5 different casino plots.
Yeah.
we can't.
We're doing other things.
We can't do that. We can't. We can't do that. Here's what I'll say about it. That because it's not that novel of an idea, because we've seen this in any Doctor show or any show with a Doctor character. Now, stop me if you've heard this one before. The Doctor is overwhelmed, maybe even spirals out, because they realize that they can't fix everything. They can't heal everyone. They can't save everyone. But they feel the burden of that because that's their job. My God. What's that? Dr. Franklin from Babylon 5's calling me up right now because that's his fucking character.
Dr. Cox from Scrubs.
Dr. Cox from Scrubs. Dr. House from House MD. Like, these are tried and true. Like, that's why
It's
you
an
want an
expected
episode of this, because
plot.
you know what it is, because there's the story. Hugh Kolber feels responsible for one of his patients, one of his clients, or whatever Book is, turning to this instead of seeking help. He thinks it's his fault because he himself has problems. My God, that's like The Sopranos even, for fuck's sake. With his psychiatrist. Like, there's a whole, like, one of the greatest things about The Sopranos is his psychiatrist is a character, where we have stuff about her and how she feels about having him as a client. It's like, you can do something here, but they're not interested.
No.
Yeah, they just want to hit on it and just kind of like, again, just they have a million things. You just get a little taste of each. It's like, Hugh is guilty. Don't worry about it. We'll go walking in the flowers. Like, all right, I guess that's it for.
And do we see that?
Plot?
We want
No,
you
never.
to know that we had an idea. We had an idea. And that's enough, right? We don't need to see the flower scene. We don't need to see them bonding.
Why don't they show us things, Steve? Like, why don't they give us this? Why don't they show Hugh and Paul walking through the flowers? Why don't they show us this?
That's a great question. And as an official Star Trek writer, I wish I had an answer for you.
Because I rip my hair out going, I don't believe in Paul and Hugh's relationship ever, because they never spend time on it. You may get those 1 or 2 scenes where they talk about, like, Hugh, you're overworking yourself, and Paul, you're overworking yourself. And then they give each other a little peck, a little kiss, and then that's it. I want to see them do cute things. I want to see them walk through the flowers. I want to see them go on dates. I want to see them feel real. I want to see a whole storyline of Hugh Kolber feeling the massive weight of all of this, but we can't because we don't have time, because we've got to have a boxing match with Owo, a character
Also,
that is not important to this show.
I would love for there to be a out and out romantic scene with Hugh and Paul.
I'd love it. Yeah.
But they're cowards.
Yeah.
We can't
that's the
have
thing,
can't have a healthy romance between Gray and Adira or Paul and Hugh, because we're too busy showing an unhealthy one between Ash Tyler and Michael Burnham, or Michael Burnham and Book.
There's lots of relationships in this show, but there is very little to no romance.
Look, Rachel, in season 1, we had one sex scene that we could use, and we decided it would be Klingon rape instead of, like, consensual sex between 2 characters you actually care about, because that's this show. They have weird priorities when it comes to, like, human relationships. Because, again, like...
Well, yeah, because that's a character. Like, to have characters that kind of spark together, you need characters who have a thing.
Have a character.
What is
you need to have a character to have.
Yeah, like when Jadzia and Worf got together, it's like you knew these characters for so many years, and even if you didn't, you could figure it out in a couple minutes. Where it's like Worf is the stick in the mud, and Jadzia is this like free spirit. Like they shouldn't be together, and yet
it works.
It works.
Opposites attract.
Yeah, the Doctor and 7 of 9, they have actually quite a lot in common. You know, they're both discovering what it is to be human, and he's further along in his journey, and they're both funny
Sure.
characters, but also very serious
Chakotay in
characters.
7 of 9, of course. You saw that coming a mile away.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
And of
That
course,
didn't
Kirk
feel
and Spock,
forced at
obviously.
all.
yeah, and of course that one episode where it was Archer and T'Pol. Remember that one episode, Twilight, where you got like
Remember that?
fucked up brain, and it was like, "Hey guys, maybe this," and then everybody said no. And they're like, "Okay."
No.
That is one of the
Trip is
highest
more
rated
handsome,
episodes
please.
of Enterprise.
Bashir and any woman in season 1. He's such a little creep. But no, we do the Hudar segment because it's befuddling to me and to you, Rachel, that one of our main characters, like he's one of the main ensembles in the modern age of Star Trek, still fall into the trappings that old Star Trek did. He's the Harry Kim. He's the Mayweather. Like, he's that guy that the writers don't want to do anything with. But at least with Harry Kim, and at least with Mayweather, early on, you could tell that they wanted to do something with them, and then they gave up over time. Hugh Culper, they were never interested. And I don't know why.
They've done more with Paul.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because they're far more interested in that. And again,
Well,
I
they didn't
think-
kill Paul.
yeah. With Hugh, I also think, we've said this many times, this era of Star Trek, they have to have the certain types, but they're not interested. So, Hugh is the Doctor, but in none of these modern Star Trek shows really do they want to do stuff with the Doctor character, like medical episodes. We don't get those. Not really. They're not interested in those.
Well,
but
Lower
they...
Decks, I think, is the exception, just because Tendi is like
yeah.
in the med.
But there's so many
med
episodes
lab.
in season 1 where there's nothing relating to that. She's just also there with other characters, and she may bring it up. Like, they further that over time, but like, you aren't going to get an episode in modern Star Trek like the one where the Doctor had to grapple with whether or not he should use that Cardassian scientist's medical research.
No.
We're never going to have those episodes
Even
because they
when
don't care.
Get the medical virus episode in Strange New Worlds. It doesn't feel the same.
No, it's a number 1 episode. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah, that
about
one-
the doctors having to deal with anything. Like, it's very bizarre, and so
Yeah, that's kind of a low point. Yeah,
that's Hugh.
Hugh's the low point,
That's... No, that's him in the episode.
and
Like,
he's
there's
so
nothing
good.
else.
Like I got nothing. As like Wilson.
Wilson Cruz is charming.
He's a charming, lovable guy. Like I see behind. This is what kills me, and I don't want to veer too off topic, but I'm a huge fan of Siskel and Ebert. Like those guys are. I will watch Siskel and Ebert videos for like hours. And Gene Siskel had a rating system for himself, which was, what is more interesting, seeing all of the actors eating lunch and swapping stories and having fun together, or the movie that they're in together. And if the eating lunch is more interesting, then the movie is not good. And whenever I see behind the scenes videos, these guys are having a ball. Like they love hanging out with each other. Wilson Cruz is like is showing everyone around on Instagram Live or whatever, and
He seems like he's like the leader of the group. Every time I see him behind the scenes, it seems like he's like the head guy of this cast. It's like, too bad you're not in the show.
They play D&D together. Like they are clearly very much a big, like, happy crew.
They're
and then
bonded.
Like, where is it? Like, where is it on the screen? Like, yeah.
And you get the guy who played Ash Tyler. He's outside, not allowed to come in. He's just crying in the rain.
Yeah.
He's like, I guess I'll do more Toast in London.
I think
Yeah, Matt
that
Berry
a
gets
part
my
of
dog.
that is that we really know from what we've been given and what we've been told that there is not that camaraderie in the writers' room.
Seems that way. Yeah.
No, but also
The actors like each other. They work together the best that they can, but what they're being given.
all I'll say is I can't, and I don't know if this will happen because the landscape has changed. Like when we go to conventions, we can see Jonathan Frakes and Brent Spiner talk fucking massive shit about the writers and the production and all of that of TNG. I don't know if we'll ever get that with Discovery. Like, will we in 15 years get Wilson Cruz talking about how he would ask them to give him stuff and they wouldn't. I don't know. I always think about that because, like, he especially, that's why we do the Hudar. He especially, like, he's not an unknown actor. He's done things. And, I mean, he had a Brian Fuller connection. He was in Pushing Daisy's last episode. And so I'm probably guessing that's also why he got on here. But, like, he's the one main cast member where they routinely give him nothing. And I can't imagine, like, how that feels as an actor. Like, when they do give him stuff as well, it's like, it's so isolated from everything else. It's just...
This scene could have happened at any point during the episode.
No, during the season. You could have put this in anywhere where he feels guilt about Book. You wouldn't have to change too much.
Yeah, at any point in the next couple of episodes, it would work.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to rate this episode. Now, we have yet to rate any episode this season positively.
Okay.
We have yet to give a yum yum to anything.
Is this going to be the one, Ryan? Is this it? Is this it?
I have to give it a yum. Yeah. Just because it has the bits and the ingredients and the format of something that should work and something I could like isn't enough because they don't do it.
No.
They have the Hugh moment 35 minutes in. And it's like half the episode's gone. And it's like, and we've only spent 5 minutes on the casino barge. Too much time is wasted. Too much is thrown away. Not enough is fulfilled. Rachel, what about you? Yum being bad, yum yum being good?
I also contemplated giving it a pity yum yum. But no. It's a yum.
Yeah, this is a terrible episode. I'm giving it a yum.
Steve, could you please tell Rachel and I what we will be watching and talking about next time on Star Trek Discovery?
All right, Season 4, Episode 9, Rubicon. Captain Burnham and the USS Discovery race to stop Book and Tarka from launching a rogue plan that could inadvertently endanger the galaxy.
What's the rating on that one? Do we know?
Rating here, out of 10, it's 5.6 with 1.4 thousand votes.
So was that higher or lower than this one? I always need to remember.
5.6. All in, 5.5.
Oh, good. We're going up.
Supposed to be better. Yeah.
I can't believe that season 4. There's no episode that's gets to a 7. Like at minimum, they're all like 6 and below. It's bizarre.
The series as a whole is hitting
like
even 7.
I know people. People review bomb these shows. I understand that, but even with season 4, it came at a period where nobody was interested in watching Discovery. It was just a bad time. They advertised it poorly. They pulled it out of the international market distribution wise. And even the people who like the show barely talk about season 4. Like, people keep talking about season 3. It's like season 3 was interesting or it was stupid or the burn. Nobody talks about season 4. So it having these low ratings isn't a surprise to me because even if there are people who love this show, they probably just forget to rate it because they forgot that they watched it. Like, it's very forgettable this season.
It's very... It lets you down a little bit too, I think, because like, and this is something that modern Trek happens all the time, where they're like, they end one story and they're like, finally, we're going to have this kind of story for you next time around. And then they don't.
We'll be better next time.
We'll do Star Trek next time.
From what I remember, ends with them being like, well, the Federation is, it's not thriving, but we're surviving, and we're in a new century or whatever, and like, we're going to have to rebuild the Federation.
We're going to deliver dilithium to all of these new places, and we'll trek across the stars.
Yeah, and like, maybe they hate us because of, like, it's new aliens, new politics, new whatever.
Or maybe old aliens who we haven't seen in a while, like the changelings.
Like, what are the Klingons up to this far in the future? Like, I would love to know. But instead
it weird that we haven't seen the Klingons since like season 2 of Discovery?
Yeah, they left them behind.
We haven't seen
I think that they've done their damage to
the makeup. They need to decide the makeup proper, so that's why we get Worf in season 3 of Picard, where he looks normal.
Yeah,
they had to wait a few years to let that wound heal. Because that was a big
So
warning sign.
I think it's just like it's so forgettable because they hyped you up and then they let you down, and it's just like, okay, well, I guess I'm just done.
And
then.
I would say, they had a lot of unfortunate stuff happening. Obviously the pandemic didn't help, but they also dug their own graves. Like, they lie. They just straight up lie. They told you we aren't going to have a villain this season. Enters Taka as villain this season. It's like, okay, well, you're lying. And then, hey guys, you're going to be able to see Star Trek Discovery Season 4 almost a year after the Americans get to see it if you're overseas. Fuck you. And it's like, even if you have Paramount Plus already, Australia, fuck you. You don't get to get it until much later for some reason. It's like, well, that's not motivating. It's not motivating. It's not a motivating season to watch. But we'll keep talking about it, Rachel.
Yes, you will continue to make me suffer, but Steve, you don't. You get to return to your own podcast.
Unless you want to be the new host with us.
No, I'm good. I've seen enough. Talk to me if you go through Enterprise. We'll see. But I'm done with Disco for a while.
If we do season 3 of Picard, you can be our third host.
I think I might be busy. I haven't seen season 2. I lied earlier. I said I watched all of Star Trek. I did not watch season 2 of Picard.
How could you not? How could you not?
I was so mad at
came back.
Blessed be.
Q came back.
Season
so
1
did the
was
Borg.
so. It made me so.
Season
I
2
watched
won't
like,
help you,
want to
buddy.
see
Season 2
Q
won't help.
die.
Yeah, Q just gives up. John Delancey cashes his final paycheck.
I'm done. I'll see you on Lower Decks when I come back for a couple cameos.
You know what's really embarrassing? We just gave up on Lower Decks. We were like, we'll watch season 2, and then we watched a couple, and then we just stopped
Lower
watching
Decks.
because it was like, whatever. I've seen this
love it
animated
so
show.
much.
It's called Solar Opposites, or Archer, or Rick and Morty, or
Deep Space 69.
Deep Space 69.
I love it so much.
No, it's
I'm a
not too
huge
bad.
fan.
If it's one of those ones where
It's
I'm
not-
sure when
it's
it's finished,
definitely not
I
the
will give it a
worst.
go over proper. But at this moment, I'm like, I have the other Star Treks to make me miserable.
Yeah.
Steve, where can people find you and your podcast on the internet?
You could find us. We are the Last Best Babylon 5 podcast at Last Best B5 on Twitter and Instagram. We are currently, I don't know when this is going to come out, but we're kind of wrapping up season 3 of Babylon 5. Very, very good season so far. We're having a lot of fun. And you could find me, you can find me on Twitter, S.A. Winchell, and go ahead and give that follow request button a click, and we'll see what happens.
We'll take the gamble and see what happens on
take the gamble, see what happens.
On
Roll the
Spooky
dice.
Steve's Twitter, yeah.
Yeah.
So we can be found on all of your social medias as well under YumYumPod or YumYumPodcast. We post there regularly. You can interact with us, shoot us a message. You can email us over at yumyumpod@gmail.com. We have our Patreon where we have an abundance of content as well as a group Discord that you get to be a part of. We are currently going through Space Above and Beyond. And what an interesting series that is. I've seen it before. Rachel, you have never seen Space Above and Beyond before. And there are some familiar faces that show up in this series. Some from Seinfeld, some from Star Trek, some from Babylon 5. And if you're a big, and I would say this, if you're a big Battlestar Galactica fan of the reboot, you definitely need to give Space Above and Beyond a watch because it was doing a lot of these things like a decade beforehand. Rather interesting little series. So we are going through that, and it's all in the description below. Make sure to rate and review us on whatever podcast hosting site allows you to do so. We would like it. It would be nice. We would very much appreciate it. There would be a smile on my face. You won't see it, but you'll feel it when I talk. But
hey, it goes. One review goes a long way.
One review.
You got to do it, folks. You got to do it.
You got to do it. You got to do it. Rachel's now got prayer pose happening. She's praying like, please give us yum ratings and reviews. But that is it, Steve. Thank you so much for joining us, for coming on to talk about Discovery. I know that you were super excited. You kept messaging me saying thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I mean, it's better than The Long Dark, so at least there's that.
Hey, come on.
I know that's
Come
bad.
on, man. That episode had fucking Dwight Schultz in it. Come on. It had Barkley in it.
It had
Come on.
broccoli in it, yeah.
It had old broccoli.
I know, but yeah, honestly, thank you. It was fun to talk about Star Trek after talking about nothing but Babylon 5 for 2 years, so.
Boo-hoo, Steve, boo-hoo. I have to talk about a good show, Babylon 5, boo-hoo. That treats its female characters much better, doesn't put him in skimpy cat suits, boo-hoo. Wee.
Ooh, cat suits on Babylon 5. I hope they put Sheridan in a cat suit.
They don't put them in cat suits on B5. They do that for Crusade, I think. But that's a story
Ooh.
for another time.
That's, yeah, for another podcast.
Which I think was a line said in this episode, by the way. I swear somebody said in this episode, I think it was Michael when she was referring to something to Owo. She said, that's a story. Yeah, that's a story for another time. Oh, don't make me think about those Star Wars movies when you say that. When it's like Mars Kanata. It's like, how do you have Luke's lightsaber? Oh, that's a story for another
don't worry about
time.
it.
Oh, and we never heard that. And, well, that's the end for us. Until next time, Yumlings, remember, Yum Yum is in your soul and your blood.